Hello and welcome to Sunday's sermon on Hughes of the World. I'm the Hughes and this is the world, I guess. The BBC was about to be on already. God damn it, I don't know. Right, good to have you with us. It is the last day of May 2026. So the 31st, Sunday the 31st. We've got Shropshire Chris in the chat. We've got Gallifreyan Ren. We've got Lots of Missionary. We've got Martin Harrow. We've got Diz in there. We've got Saz. Hi everyone. Hi Saz. How you doing? Hi everyone. If you would like to join our beautiful friends in the chat here, all you need to do, this is it, all you need to do, this dead simple, is hit the big shiny subscribe button. It might not be shiny. But you hit the subscribe button, wait for approximately 60 seconds, and you can join in with the chat. So I've got the stats for the big 65 and a half hour live stream that I did earlier this week, and the stats are in, and so I did it when I did without as much preparation as I probably should have done. I don't know if the people who watched it will know that I had a cold. I was blowing my nose throughout the whole thing. What you might not have known is I was also very ill at the same time, like I shouldn't have been doing that, but I was like, no. What I'll do is I'll get going on this, thing, because obviously I was going out on the Guinness World Records website, which is huge. Like, I was on the front page. I was on their YouTube site, which has got 13.1 million subscribers. So I thought, well, people might watch that, and then they'll come over to my channel and they'll see me, and they'll be, they'll be like, oh hang on, sorry, bloody phone just turned on then and just shouted at me, as it has sometimes happens. Anyway, so I was hoping to get a few more subscribers, maybe not many, not excessive. I didn't think I'll get several thousand. I thought maybe if I'm very lucky, I might clock up another 100 subscribers, right? If I'm very lucky. If I was unlucky, maybe only, a handful of new subscribers. Friends, I managed in doing a 65 and a half hour live stream, I actually lost 4 subscribers. So, we remember our total is now 41,332 subscribers to the channel. It was up to 42,000 at one point, but we lost a lot of subscribers when I said something mean about the previous leader of Labour, when I did something else, when I didn't do something else that I should have done, or whatever. Oh well, at least when I finish getting my time frames together, because I'm having to add up all the moments that I had to go and use the toilet, and I did have 45 minutes sleep on 2 separate occasions. So I had to add all that up and put it all onto a spreadsheet with timings and links to that particular time in the video, and then hopefully I'll get myself I'll say a third Guinness World Record. But for those of you who've seen the podcast that I did for Guinness World Records, they'll see that it was actually my 4th, because they gave me one during the Guinness World Record podcast. They made me identify as many European capitals as I could within a minute. And to be honest, if I practice that, I could do 60. There's not even 60 capitals in Europe, so they'll have to repeat a few, show different landmarks. But yeah, so there you go. -4, yes, winning. Also, I've got news this week that, well, maybe not this week, but in the last couple of weeks, that the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea isn't minded to give Bougainville its independence, because it has to be allowed, even though it went through a referendum a few years ago. It was like 99% of people wanted to be independent, but the Papua New Guinean authorities, I think the largest gold mine in the world is on Bougainville. I don't know why they want to keep hold of it, but the largest gold mine in the world, one of the largest gold mines in the world, on it. But so the 1st of September date for independence for Bougainville, it might not happen next year, which means 2 things. One, it means that I'll be free to go and see the eclipse of the century as it crosses across North Africa next summer. And also, well, when I was chatting to the Guinness World Record people after doing the show, I explained how I had tried to get another Guinness World Record for the fastest journey overland to every country in Europe in 2017, right? And I failed because I included Turkey and Cyprus as part of this journey. And in doing that, just to explain, I should probably get the map up to show you this, but I was in Bulgaria and I didn't go down to Greece and then back up again into North Macedonia. And the reason I didn't do that is because I knew that I would have to travel back through Greece on the way across from Malta to Greece and to Italy and then to Greece to get across to Turkey to finish off the journey in Cyprus. Cyprus was the last destination because it had to be. If I did it again, well, for me, I thought that it was part of Europe. Silly me. But yeah, I think there's a few Cypriot to be like, hey, excuse me, we are part of Europe, mate. But yeah, according to Guinness World Records, Turkey and Cyprus aren't part of it. So I left off Greece, which is really irritating because it meant that when I did eventually get to Greece, I was over the limit of the number of days they wanted me to take doing this, which was 18. If I had gone to Greece along the way and finished the job in Malta, perfect, it would have worked, and I wouldn't have had to have that very stressful Sunday of trying to get across Sicily and the boot of Italy, or the bottom of the boot of Italy. The whole thing's a boot, I guess. On a Sunday, trying to go coast to coast in southern Italy on a Sunday isn't as easy as you might think. And then I got to Bari, which is a city on the east coast of Italy. I got there and there were no taxis. There were no taxis. So if Bougainville isn't going to get its independence next September, next September, I might be tempted to attempt the Eurodyssey expedition again because no, I don't think anyone else has tried it, and it means that I get to travel around Europe. The problem with that is, though, it does presume that by then things will have sorted them out. Things would have sorted themselves out between Ukraine and Russia. Because although I can get into Ukraine, no problem, getting into Russia, getting a visa for Russia, going into Russia, coming out of Russia, yeah, might not be that attractive, to a lot of people. You know what I mean? Anyway, so hi, Martin and Graham. Hello, Chris there. We've also got Liam Fairhurst in the chat. We've got Viper Scott saying hi. Everyone's saying hi to each other. It's so nice. Everyone's having a good little hiatus, hiatus, hyacinth. But yeah, thanks very much to everyone who helped out with the marathon live stream. I really appreciate it. You lot kept me sane, or relatively sane, throughout the whole fandango. And hopefully, if Guinness give me the thumbs up, yeah, I'll have another Guinness certificate to put on, a Guinness World Record certificate to put on the wall. But it might take a while before we actually find out if I got it. And do you know what? Like, first, look, even if I've lost a few subscribers, and even if, right, they don't give me the Guinness World Record because of some technicality or something that they get me on. They love doing that. I will still. Oh, thank you, darling. I've just been handed a nice little coffee here. Oh, excellent. I'll let that cool down before I burn my mouth. Ah! But yeah, look, even if nothing of that comes, except for the fact that I now know that I can do that. I can literally, as someone said in the comments, I can literally now talk for England. If that ever becomes a competitive event in the Olympics, it's either that or dressage. They're the only ones that I think I could possibly win a gold medal in. Isn't it mad? Dressage, where they have the dancing horses, they don't give the medal to the horse. I'm sorry, but the horse is doing all the hard work. It made more difficult by the fact they've got someone sitting on their back. Anyway, as far as tourist destinations go, Russia's up there with the US, the UAE, Somalia, and several circles of hell. At least for me, says Gallifrey Rent. Yeah. Shops and Kush, I want to say thanks, Graham, and all you out there. I'm having a really bad time at the moment. and it's only you lot and the dog keeping me afloat. Oh, Shops of Chris, well, we love you, and thank you for being part of our mad little community here in our strange little corner of the internet. Now, before I get on and talk about Robert Kenyon, which is one of the many topics that I haven't really talked about very much, along with Sarah Poochin, who's got poo on her chin from, I don't know, Shortland Farage's balls or something. I don't know why she's called Sarah Poochin, but she's got poo on her chin. Anyway, she did a video earlier this week, of going, look, I've helped this person. I've got to put some Nivea Soft on my hands. Sorry, this is just a little bit of skincare. Never trust a man who doesn't do skincare. That's what I reckon. Anyway, listen. So she put on her. I mean, it's not funny really, but it is. She put on her socials like, this is why I became an MP, for helping people like this woman. And she was helping this woman, and then she had to take the video down within half an hour because it was revealed that woman that she helped get into a house, or her son or something to get into a house, was Britain's biggest benefits cheat. Yeah, and if anyone follows Femi on TikTok or on here, please do. He's very funny and he's very good and he knows exactly what he's talking about. He did a debate with the RefUK's mayoral candidate, and for London, I think it was, and she was absolutely tying herself in knots about how she's going to come after these Pakistani rape gangs, and they were like, okay, and Femi's like, hang on, so what about the people in your party who abuse women, such as that MP who was actually went to jail for it, and your deputy leader is on record as saying he did nothing wrong, and that Richard Tice believes what his MP, he's not an MP with RefUK anymore. He's still an MP. He's not an MP with RefUK. He believes him over the victim. Yeah. So we need to get into all that at some point. But today we're going to be focusing on Robert Kenyon, who is the Makerfield by-election candidate for bloody Makerfield, which is near Wigan, sort of halfway between Manchester and Liverpool, which is great because Andy Burnham, who's running for Labour, and hopefully running as leader if he does actually win this by-election, he was born in Liverpool, but he grew up just down the road from Makerfield, and his kids went to school there, so he's very, very local. And being halfway between Manchester and Liverpool kind of makes sense for Burnham. And he's been putting out some really good videos, like he has just some a bit Mondarmy, and he's got this great picture that's been done by Stanley Chow, who's a Manchester artist who does these sort of cartoonish, very, very distinctive pictures. If you ever went to our Remain rally, march and rally in September of 2019 in Manchester, we got Stanley to design the poster for that. So if you saw the elephant that we had on that was designed by Stanley. Good lad to know. Viper Scott, thank you so much for the £2 super chat. To all his hugs, to all that need them. Oh, sending hugs, sending all the hugs, sending all the lovely hugs. I'm going to set the goal. I'm going to see if the goal's working, because the goal wasn't. That was another thing, doing the whole what was it? The 65 and a half hour live stream. All the time that we were doing it, the countdown wasn't working, the goal wasn't working, and I was hoping to have things where it was like, oh, if you do this, I'll do something on camera. It's a bit daft or something. But the goals weren't working, so. Anyway, I'll settle for 5 super chats, any flavour. See if it's working now. Halton Council have said it's total bollocks as well. Nobody from RefUK contacted them about that woman. Whole story was just lies. So she made up a lie, and the woman turned out to be Britain's biggest benefits cheat, who managed to cheat the government or the taxpayer out of something like £200,000. It might be more than that, actually. Just ridiculous. So yeah, sorry I'm late, Sarah. Sarah, no need to apologise. I honestly haven't even got started yet. So anyway, something else from doing the what's it called? The 65-hour marathon has got me thinking. Well, first of all, the last 2 nights I have dreamt while I've been asleep. I've dreamt that we're still live streaming from bed, and I need to wake up and turn my computer off to stop live streaming from bed because it's a bit unfair on Kat that was like, and I'm just like, 2 nights now in a row I've had that dream and woken up and sort of picked my laptop up and gone, in the middle of the night, gone, hang on, no, it's okay, I'm not streaming now, it's all right. But I have struggled for the last 8 years to write the next book in the saga of the Man of the World saga, the Hughes of the World saga, which starts with Man of the World and continues with Top of the World and ends with End of the World, right? And one of the reasons I've struggled with it is because I finished Man of the World. I wrote the original, what's it called, manuscript, back in the first draft back in 2016. I then refined it through 2017, and then it was published in the September of 2017, right? But I since then I've been very involved in political stuff with streaming. I had the Three Blokes in the Pub stuff, and that was running through till we left the EU, and then literally the month after we left the EU, we hit COVID, so obviously things had to change then. And I really felt like in 2020 it'd be a good time that I'd be able to have this time off and be able to do Top of the World. My problem, amongst many, is that I didn't really have someone putting a deadline on me to say, you need to get this finished by X time, which, as someone with ADHD is toxic to anything that we try to do. Which is why, like, I set these live streams up each day at a certain time, and I might be a few minutes late, but I have to be here and start because I've got 50 of you waiting. Okay, so get it done. So I felt that, and also there was a thing of I had to make money. Like, I have a lot of debts to pay off. I have a certain amount that I have to make each month, and if I don't make that, then I go underwater with paying off my debt. Pretty much all of my all of my income goes on paying off debts, which I've had now for years as a result of a few, well, I'll say bad decisions, but also it's been like I've been given a contract to do a TV show in America, and then at the last minute that's been taken out my hands, and there's been nothing I could do about it. And so, some of the financial decisions I made on the back of what I thought was going to be future employment didn't materialize. And obviously, making a TV show in America is slightly more lucrative than doing YouTube videos or doing the Three Blokes in the Pub podcast. So yeah, this is a roundabout way of telling you that what I'm going to start doing next week is a new show here on Hughes the World, and it's going to be called Graham Hughes Rights Some Wrongs, as in right, as in WRITE, rights. And the idea is going to be, I am going to try and write Top of the World live. I'm going to do it because it's based on my blog. It's not like someone can steal my idea and run away to Hollywood with it. I mean, it might be ludicrously boring for people watching it, but it will force me to get it done, and I won't have the excuse of like, but I need to be streaming, I need to be making money, I need to be getting super chats in, I need to be getting advertising revenue, blah, 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 blah. I can write and I can, so look, it might not work, it might be excruciatingly tedious, but I think it'd be quite cool because I could talk about my travels quite a bit when I'm doing it. Obviously, I'll have to shut up when I'm actually typing, but I'll sort of explain why I've done that or whatever, or come up with ideas. It'll be based on my blog, which exists anyway, which you can read at theodysseyexpedition.com anyway. But so it's not going to be like I'm going to be revealing something that wouldn't otherwise be revealed in the book or whatever. Although I might put a few little things in there that like I haven't talked about because I promised that I wouldn't, but I'd love to bring some of those stories back in to the narrative. And it's quite fun. The Top of the World book will be quite fun because I went to 50 countries from Egypt to Papua New Guinea that year, and it was a riot. I just had the best time everywhere I went. I had a really, really good time. So it'll be fun to write, and it'll be proof that I didn't use AI. I didn't use AI. I didn't just go to my blogs, swipe them all, and say, rewrite this as the narrative. I can say, didn't do that. Hurrah. It is where is it working? Inquiring minds want to know. Is what working? Is what working? Says Martin Harrow. Oh, yes, it is. Martin Harrow, it's working. It's working. That's really cool. £1.50. I'm really curious about how writers write, the motivation, and keeping motivated, etc. Yeah. Change the names to protect the innocent. Lol. Well, I don't need to, Diz. I mean, there's nothing in there that. There's only a couple of stories that I think should be in there, but I don't want to get people into trouble, especially in countries that, they might seriously get into trouble if I go, hey, this is what happened to me in this country with these officials. And they're like, oh, officials? Who was the official in that country in September 2010? Whoa, we'll find them. Graham and all in this community. Hugs from Saz. Oh, that's really sweet of you. Thank you so much. You're the best. You are the best, Saz. Okay, should we start talking about Richard Kenyon then? Only 22 minutes into the show, but like I keep saying, turns out I can talk for England. This isn't really about Robert Kenyon in a way. It matters because he's standing in one of the most important and consequential by-elections in Britain for decades. Makerfield could become a bellwether for where British politics is heading. And if RefUK can win in a traditional Labour seat in Greater Manchester against Andy Burnham, Nigel Farage will claim that RefUK is no longer a protest party but a government in waiting. But today's sermon isn't really about one man. It's about what RefUK think working class people are like, because every time criticism emerges about some of the horrific things Robert Kenyon has said and done online, RefUK's response is essentially the same. He's not a polished politician. He's rough around the edges. It's locker room banter. I mean, that was picked up by Carol Vorderman, where she said, I think we call it a changing room in the UK. Well, what's this locker room? And it's taking that lingo from the States because they want to take it from the successful Trump campaign. And the other line is, it's what you'll hear on a building site. Okay. It's what you'll hear on a building site. Why is that? Why is that a thing? Why is that? What? Sorry? It's what you'll hear. Can we say that again? It's what you'll hear on a building site. So that justifies it. Is that okay then for him to say it? The justifications are just disgraceful. But the defense is very revealing, right? Because it suggests that RefUK believe that misogyny, crude sexual comments, ignorance, and offensive behaviour are somehow authentic expressions of working class culture. Isn't that interesting? The same sort of thinking, the same sort of mentality that has given us, this sort of Benefit Street, Jeremy Kyle, this kind of like povo porn that they put on the TV of like, this is what working class people are like, this is what they're like. Every time we get a movie about working class people, it's usually something written by or directed or written and directed by someone tremendously posh as a way of making the working class look they have a terrible time of it all the time. It's like pity porn, it's like, oh, look at these poor wretches with no hope, no future. I hate that. I genuinely hate that. It's like there's no joy in the working class. It's all grim, especially a northern working class person. It's all grim up north. And so I think that's nonsense. I hate it when you take people who are very posh, take an entire group of people and say they're all like this. And then when I try and do it and say, well, I think that all rich people are like this, I always get loads of kickback. Not all rich people, Graham. Some rich people are all right. If you say so. So who is Robert Kenyon? Well, first of all, he's a self-employed plumber, but that's hilarious because he only became a plumber he only became a self-employed plumber in February of this year, so only a few months ago, and he became a self-employed plumber at the same time that Hannah Spencer, the Green candidate, was running in Gorton and Denton in the by-election in February. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? And the only reviews on his website are like from his mum. He was born in the constituency, which is a bit of a departure for RefUK's strategy, where they get people like Farage, who's never been to Clacton. I don't know if Farage can identify where Clacton is on a map. And then you've got people like Andrew, what was his name? Matthew Goodwin, complete gobshite, who was parachuted in to try and win in Gorton and Denton and failed miserably because he's a miserable failure. He's a reformer army reservist, but that's like, yeah, reservist. So not actually, seen any real action. He was a former NHS specialist technician. A big rugby league fan, which he hopes goes down well in Wigan and the area around there. Local candidate with genuine roots to the area. On paper, he's exactly the kind of candidate that RefUK needs. Local, working class, trade background, northern accent. Doesn't sound like a Westminster politician. None of those things are bad. In fact, they're potentially strengths, except for the whole plumber thing, which is a bit kind of weird. Maybe he is a plumber. It just seems the timing is a little bit quinky dinky. It's like, oh, so the Greens are running a plumber and she's doing a local plumber. So she's doing quite well. What we need is a local plumber. I'm not saying he's not a plumber. I'm saying it's just a bit odd that he registered his company in February of this year. Everything they do and say is dodgy, says Spooky Thang, who's been a member for 24 months. It's 2 years. Well done on your 2-year anniversary of being a member. Welcome. You are awesome. You are awesome. We get 3 weather reports. How nice, says Shinzad. Yes, in the background we get a 3 weather reports from the lady, whoever she is. Tradespeople should be represented in Parliament. Working class people should be represented more in Parliament. Parliament desperately needs people who have actually had a job outside politics, like our current Prime Minister. You can't argue he did have a job before he was Prime Minister, and he was very good at it. He was knighted for his services as Director of Public Prosecution. Prosecutions, obviously there's more than one. But then you've got the previous leader of Labour, and you've got Farage himself, who are career politicians, have always been a politician, don't know anything other than being a politician. Sometimes RefUK's leader, Nigel Farage, tries to make out that he was a city trader. He wasn't. He was a junior busboy. He just got the coffee for the actual traders because his daddy got him a job there. But then he realised that being a politician was much more lucrative. And so he set on that journey instead. The problem is not just the candidate that they've picked. On paper sounds great, but when it came out about these comments that he's made, it's the way that RefUK have chosen to excuse it afterwards. So, for instance, the one of the most widely reported incidents involves comments about Carol Vorderman. Somebody posted about how much they would like to do something sexual to her, and Kenyon replied, "He's only saying what we're all thinking." And then when challenged later, no apology, no, that was wrong. Not, I'm sorry, that was not I've changed. That was a silly thing to say. Maybe I had to drink and I shouldn't go online when I'm drunk, but I'm really, really sorry. I really apologise. No. He said, no offence was meant. How could that not be offensive to the person that you're saying it about? He said it was a crude attempt at a joke, and they've been saying that the RefUK defence of this has been, you'll hear worse on building sites. So think about what that defense actually means. It's Robert Kenyon and also the toffs that are backing him that run the RefUK PLC. They're saying a lot of working class men talk like this. And firstly, no, they don't. Secondly, even if some do, how is that a defense? If someone makes degrading sexual comments about a woman, the fact that other people might also make degrading sexual comments doesn't magically make it acceptable. And this is the Trump defense. Trump, after he said what he said about grabbing women by the genitalia, sexually assaulting women, you can do that if you're rich and famous. That's what he said. His defense was, oh, it was just locker room talk. People say worse things in a locker room. Now I want you to ask yourself something, and this is where this whole thing of one side and the other comes in. The side that's the higher morals that the left holds itself to. Imagine that came from Andy Burnham. Imagine if it was Andy Burnham that said that. That there is just, he would be kicked out as mayor. He wouldn't just not be able to run as the Labour candidate for Makerfield. He would be kicked out as mayor for those comments. And then we've got more comments as well about rugby league forums, comments about the Saturdays, comments about Emma Crosby, sexual comments, objectification. These are adolescent fantasies written by a grown man. Again, Reform's response wasn't, this is inappropriate. They said instead, locker room banter. And if Andy Burnham had made these same comments, would RefUK dismiss them as harmless banter? Of course they wouldn't. They would be demanding blood. They would be demanding resignations. They'd be talking about standards in public life. They would be calling him unfit for office. Some of the other comments that Kenyon's made, he said that women can't referee. He said that women can't drive. He said women can't give directions. And he's openly admitted to being sexist. Again, not accidental, not misinterpreted, not taken out of context. The defense appears to be, well, that's just how ordinary blokes talk. No, most ordinary blokes aren't going around declaring themselves sexist. Most working class men aren't spending their evenings writing comments about women's bodies online. Most working class men have mothers and wives and sisters and daughters and female colleagues and female friends. RefUK's defense becomes more insulting every time they make it, to say, oh, this is just what the working class do. Don't worry about it. He's working class. This is just how working class people speak. Think about how disgusting that is. Imagine a line of defense for an ethnic minority where one person in that minority has done something absolutely horrific. And instead of saying, oh, yeah, that was a horrific thing that one person did, but doesn't reflect on us as a community, they said, oh, it's just what we do. It's just what we do. It's one of those things that we just do as a line of defense. And then there's also questions about his far right connections, about his deleted Facebook account, about connections to this guy called Gary Rakes, I think his name is, who's a former BNP member. And RefUK's defense is that being Facebook friends doesn't equal an endorsement. But I mean, I like to think that anyone who's my Facebook friend in the last 10 years who doesn't agree with my politics, maybe not 100%, but just in general, has well and truly fucked off by now, has well and truly, pissed off. That's what I like to think, because I wouldn't want them to be my friends. I don't want to be mates with them if they're spouting out racist, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, anti-trans, homophobic slurs. I don't want to be friends with them. And a lot of them, the trust has taken themselves out because they've seen me write what I write on Facebook about, quite adroitly. Is that the right word? Quite steadfastly sticking to my beliefs that you shouldn't be a twat and you shouldn't be horrible to groups of people based on the perceived ill doings, especially when that those ill doings represent a vanishing minority of that group. And yes, I will defend the fact that I sometimes have a pop at boomers, because even though it's not all boomers, it's 2/3 of them. If it was any other group and 2/3 of them were doing something horrific, which 2/3 of boomers are, then we would have a problem with that group, wouldn't we? I mean, it's easy to look at any given cohort and say, well, the people swinging the lead, the people causing problems are always a minority, and they always are in any other given group of people. But when it's 2/3 of that group, yeah, then we start having to look at maybe having words, maybe just saying, listen, can you just calm it down a bit? Can you just talk to your friends and just get them to simmer down and just enjoy their massive retirement funds, enjoy the £370,000 a year that they get from their private pension for not doing nothing, which is more than most, working people are earning in 20 years of actually working. But yeah, when a person in the UK has described the changing room as a locker room other than the American person who lives here, so it's RefUK's attempt to magnify the UK. Yeah, and to do away with British culture, they'll be calling it a sidewalk, they'll be calling it a faucet, they'll be calling it, I don't know, what do they call their king? A president? We'll be changing the name of King Charles III to president. Oh God, there he is. God, shite. Just cover him over. Just move my chair over a little bit. There you go. This is interesting. On his website, he's claiming the business is registered with Gas Safe Register, but when I do a business search name at them, nothing is showing. I think that's slightly illegal, my friend. I think that's slightly illegal. I treat changing rooms like toilets, or ignore all the occupants and do the thing you're there to do. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, who walks into a changing room, like seriously, and just goes, oh, women, cool. But yeah, the Facebook friends with Gavin Rakes thing, I mean, it perhaps it doesn't equal endorsement, but it's part of a wider pattern again and again, the same names, the same online spaces, the same culture war ecosystem, the same circles. That RefUK keep insisting that these are isolated incidents, yet these incidents never seem to stop. And reports have also highlighted interactions with Peter Sweden, or Peter Emanuelson, a figure who has attracted significant controversy over comments relating to the Holocaust. Again, RefUK's response is nothing to see here. But again, it's not that the issue isn't one interaction. It's the accumulation of all of these interactions, all of these things that this guy said. Every concern gets waved away. Every criticism becomes evidence of a conspiracy. Reports have also highlighted comments describing abortion as comments by Kenyon describing abortion as murder, suggesting that women lie about being raped in order to obtain abortions. You see the through line of not believing women. There's a thing in RefUK. The problem at the moment with the way that women are treated in society is they are not believed. And when they are believed, the men who perpetrate these crimes are usually given a very, very, very light sentence in proportion to the crime that they have committed. He suggested that women lie about rape to obtain abortions, and he's claimed that some women use abortion as a form of birth control, which is absolute nonsense. Anyone who has ever taken the morning after pill, which is a form of abortion, let's not beat around the bush, will know, anyone who's taken it or anyone who's been with someone who's had to take it will know how deeply unpleasant it is to take that pill. Like, it really messes you up for a few days or even a few weeks. Nobody in their right mind would go through that every couple of weeks, every time that they thought they may have fallen pregnant. These are not serious claims. These are claims that a deeply misogynistic man, by the looks of things, by all the evidence been presented to us, from what his comments about Carol Vorderman, to his his comments about women not being able to drive, women not being able to be referees, all of these deeply sexist comments. It shows that RefUK, what they feel about women, about what they feel about women who come forward and say that they've been assaulted or sexually assaulted, and claims about, him doing the MAGA thing of claiming bodily autonomy over women. And this is where the whole trans panic amongst some feminists just boils my piss, because trans people aren't doing this. Trans people aren't committing these crimes. Men are. Cisgender men are. And they're getting away with it like nobody's business. And yeah, they've they are, even when they're found guilty, you've got people like Richard Tice siding with the perpetrator rather than believing the victim. Plant McGee, even though in that case the guy went to jail. I mean, he went to jail. He pled guilty to the crime of kicking his girlfriend on the floor, kicking her, and he said, "Oh, it doesn't matter. He's probably making it up anyway." So, if that's the way that people who want to run the country, that's their mentality, we're not going to believe women. We're not going to believe them no matter what. Even if the perpetrator admits he did it and goes to jail for committing that crime, we're still not going to believe the woman. Then where are we going to be left? Plants McGee, £2 super chat. Thank you. I didn't have a rimming scandal on my 2026 bingo card. Yep. No, me either. Although I did have I did have cuckold and foot fetish. Says Tommy Lee. Jane West, morning after pill prevents ovulation. Yeah. And it's just like taking the regular pill, but it can be quite it's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant thing to have to take, and I can't believe there's any women who are like, yes, that's a better alternative. Don't you love it when men talk about things they have absolutely no experience of? Yes. I've searched for him personally, and he's registered as a gas safe engineer, and he has an associated business which is Makerfield Heating Limited. Okay. Okay. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you. The trouble is that the image of the working class is also exhibited by the likes of Morgan McSweeney in the attitude taken after the Supreme Court's decision re trans people. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a problem with the perception of the working class across the board. But until working class people are able, I'm not going to say allowed, because I think that's the wrong word, are able to tell their own stories, then this is the way. This is the narrative that's going to be trotted out. Don't forget, if you are upper middle class, or you're upper class, if you're tough, you can work for free. You can put out as much content, whether it's songs, whether it's stand-up comedy, whether it's poetry, whether it's doing streaming or whatever. You can do as much as that as you like, and earn an absolute pittance off it for as long as you need to break through. And you've got connections. So I don't have any connections. Like, are you telling me that if I had like amazing connections at all the newspapers and the BBC and ITV and Channel 4, because I went to school with the people who now have those jobs, or at least, someone who could get me some publicity, that when I did my live stream last week, I wouldn't have loads and loads of people watching it because it would have been publicized for free by my mates who run the media. Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Has that got us over the line? Graham, the number of women who are defending Robert Kenyon on Facebook claiming I am sexist, but I'm sorry, I am comments is very concerning. I am sexist, I'm sorry, but I am. They are claiming it's a smear campaign by Burnham. Yeah, but are they real? This is the thing. Are they real, Saz? No, sorry, Chris. Are they real? That's the question that we have to ask, because there's a lot of people on Facebook with a Union Jack avatar or British Bulldog or Winston Churchill sitting on a bulldog eating a Union Jack or something. And they're not real. They're not real people. They're just bots. They're just paid bots. And don't forget, RefUK have got a lot of money. They've got a lot of money. You know, if they want to pay someone a couple £100 to write comments on Facebook saying, "Oh, I'm a woman and I believe that, you know, the RefUK have got my best interests at heart," they'll just give them a, you know, 50 quid here, 50 quid there. It's nothing to them. They're funded by billionaires, literally billionaires. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. Yeah, £1.50 paid bot, probably in Russia or America. Yeah, or North Macedonia, as has happened in the past. So yeah, again, RefUK with these abortion comments, it looks largely uninterested. And he doesn't even know his own party politics. So one of the worst things for Robert Kenyon is for Robert Kenyon to be actually interviewed about anything. During interviews, he struggles to explain major RefUK policies. And this is probably the most important issue of all. Questions about the Great Repeal Bill, the questions about employment rights, questions about the Equality Act. Repeated answers to this have been, "I need to look into it." Maybe you should do that before you stand on a platform for a party. RefUK want to scrap one of the most significant equality laws in modern Britain, and their candidate cannot explain what replaces it. But to be fair to him, neither can Richard Tice, neither can Nigel Farage. Something will replace it. Neither can Zia Youssef. Something will replace it. We don't know. Something will come along. You know, we'll just scrap the only bus we've got, and then hopefully another bus will come along, as if by magic. They scrap those employment laws, and you can be sacked for pretty much anything. You'll be able to be sacked for being gay. You'll be able to be sacked for writing something online that they disagree with. Not something that's illegal for you to write online. That's something different. But just anything that they disagree with, you'll be taken to one side and you know, put down like the dog you are. If you're disabled, they'll be able to deny you employment and say you don't come in on Monday. You won't be given any rights. You won't be given any employment rights, and the unions can fight back. But one of the things that these RefUKers want to do is destroy the last vestiges of the unions. They want to RefUK want to repeal major employment legislation, and the candidate cannot explain the details of this. And that's not being authentic. That's not being like a true working class hero. That is being unprepared. It's being unfit for office. And as Marina Perk has said on one of the morning shows this week, she said, you know, do you want this person representing this person who said these horrific things about Carol Vorderman and doesn't know your policies and doesn't seem to have a clue and has admitted that he's sexist? Do you want him represent as an MP, perhaps forming part of the next government of this country? And you know, this is the part that really irritates me about this dismissal of what he said as always. It's just the way working class people are. Yeah, Reform constantly reframes criticism as an attack on ordinary people. It isn't. My granddad was working class. He was in the Navy from 39 to 45, and he worked down the docks the whole of his life until he retired, at which point he became a lollipop man and helped kids cross the road safely up in Bootle, right, in Liverpool. My mum's family are working class, and Liverpool is full of working class people. Wigan is full of working class people. Durham here is full of working class people. And the people I've met throughout Britain who are working class have been overwhelmingly decent. You know, members of my family, elderly members of my family, you mention Nigel Farage at them and they will spit. They hate him. They think he's an absolute gobshite, and they will say as much because they can see that he is a phony. Now, look, I can't use my family and say, well, you know, the working class people in my family are representative of all working class people. But in the same way that RefUK can't say, well, you know, this is just what working class people are like. What do you expect? The people I know who are working class are funny, and honest and hardworking and generous and community minded. They help their neighbours. They raise money for charities. They coach football teams. They care for their relatives. They look after each other. And that is not the caricature that RefUK is selling. And I'm not selling you an image of the working class as being, this wonderful group of people who are all really nice. That's not the case. But I'm not making that assumption. I'm not making that. I'm not saying that all people in the working class are like this. But RefUK are. They're saying, oh, that's just what working class people are like, which is so derogatory, so dismissive, and so, this idea that working class men are crude and sexist and angry and anti-immigrant and suspicious of women and suspicious of minorities and their expertise. Why? Well, because it's politically useful. It creates a simple narrative that they are the voice of ordinary people, when they are absolutely not. Ordinary people are far more complex than that, and they don't need privately educated Richard Tice or privately educated Zia Yusuf or privately educated Nigel Farage or privately educated Sarah Puchin to be talking on their behalf. They just don't. That is patronising and shit, and drives me up the wall. Look at Brexit. Not knowing is their thing. Yeah. Ernie Burns, and thank you, Ernie, because you have triggered the confetti cannon. So 3, 2, 1, confetti! Yay! We got the first confetti of the weekend. So that's really cool. Thank you so much, Ernie. That is very, very kind of you. And then Miss Paula Thomas, thank you. Let me predict the title of the bill that is set out to abolish workers' rights, the Right to Work bill. That is what happened in the US states. Yeah, that's what they call it. The Better Employment Act or something like that. The big beautiful bill. They call it something like that. But they will take away people's working rights and give all the rights to the already rich. That's all they care about. RefUK appeal to the racist knuckle dragging gammons who hate the idea of non-white person in the street. Personally, those individuals are more snowflakes than anyone else. Yeah, and a lot of them are middle class. Here's something that we miss as well. A lot of those gams are middle class. Like, unless you're middle class, right? Riddle me this. How can you afford to follow the footy and go and smash things up in another country? Like, seriously, you'll be in debt for the rest of your life if you were working class and you're working, you work a 9 to 5 and you're only earning £22,000 a year. Everything you have will go on rent. Everything you have will go on the lecky, on the water, on food, trying to feed your kids. A lot of these people that they plead poverty when it suits them, but they seem to have enough money to go out and do horrible things. I would say a lot of them are probably middle class. A lot of the middle class people voted for Brexit, which is infuriating on several levels, because one of the things that Brexit and everything from the 1980s onwards has been set up to do is to destroy the middle class, which the upper echelons see as an aberration. You see this in America, you see this in the UK. The middle class grew after the Second World War. There wasn't really a middle class to really speak of until the 50s, until the 60s. When someone who was earning money as a postman or a milkman could earn enough money doing that job to buy a house and to have, look after, pay for that entire household, have a wife, have 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, and be able to afford school uniforms for them all. That's not the case anymore, because they're trying to destroy the middle class. So anyone who is middle class and voted for Brexit is at either the top end of the middle class and they'll be all right, or they're idiots, simple as that, or maybe a bit of both. But what the plan is, what the overall plan is, and we're seeing this in America, we're seeing it here more and more, is that we will have the rich, there'll be a gulf, and then everyone else, and they'll make it so difficult for the rest of us to break into any industry that will actually make us normal people rich. Then the whole class system falls apart, because it's not going to be the case of the haves and have-nots. It's going to be the case of the haves and have-nothings. It's going to be the rest of us who cannot break into acting, who cannot get a job as a CEO of a company, who cannot get a job as a representative of their community, who cannot get a job being a musician or being an artist or being a poet or being a writer. You just can't do it. Go to Waterstones. Have a look along the kids' book section. Try and find someone in the kids' book section who didn't go to private school. Modern kids' books, right? Try and find one that didn't. I mean, this is nothing new. You know, Beatrix Potter was as posh as fuck. You know, like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Like, but people who were very rich, especially if they were women, had the leisure time to write books, which was seen as unseemly in the Victorian age. It's why Jane Austen wrote under a pseudonym. It's why George Eliot was actually a what the hell is going on there? The President's Path of people. Oh God, I don't want to think. But yeah, moving on. But yeah, the traditionally the career of being an artist was something that was taken up by the rich. You know, it was a pastime. It was something that they could do in their spare time because they didn't need to make money by selling their paintings if they didn't need to. And they had all that time, those years to perfect their skills. And when you look at sort of great British artists or muses, not muses, poets and writers, they generally came from quite wealthy backgrounds. I think even, you think of Lord Byron and stuff like that, and Percy Shelley and all that, they were part of the aristocracy. And that's the world that RefUK and the Tories and MAGA want to take us back to. We have people who are born to do it, people who are born into a special elite. And if you don't believe me, go on to privateschoolmafia.com. The names are all there. You can't argue with that. There's over 1,300 names on that list, for God's sake. And they're all people who are up in the higher echelons. And what they're trying to do is just kick the ladder away and make sure that none of us down here can possibly get up to that point. And they make it so difficult for any of us. And the only time you'll see a working class person get into a newspaper is when they've done something horrible or stupid. So we can laugh at them or go, oh my God, that's disgusting. You know, how could they have done that thing? And that is really, really dispiriting every day. You know, we do the newspaper review and we look at what's on the front cover of the newspapers. And by and large, it'll be like the papers will be people who went to private school. I'll have a quick squiz now. I'll have a quick look to see who's on the front cover of these papers. Obviously, Arsenal lost the Champions League final last night, so there's a lot of them on there. But yeah, they've got on the people. They've got a picture of Prince Andrew. Obviously, he's privately educated. Shirley, what's her name? Shirley Thingy from Strictly Come Dancing. She's on the front cover of the Mail. I think she went to private school. And on the front cover of the Observer, it's got Labour ripping itself apart, but it's got Keir Starmer's hair now. His school became private while he was there. Not his fault. It became private while he was there. But it's also got Tony Blair, who was privately educated as well. And then let's have a look. Ruben Dias, I didn't cheat on Mayor. I don't know what that's about. It's about some people. Kia's reset, blah, blah, blah. It's got a print. The Sunday Express has got a picture of Princess Diana on the front cover. Would you believe it? Privately educated. The Independent's got the Pride list. That's quite nice, but again, some of the people on there, I'll put Zach Polanski's on there. He's privately educated. Alan Carr is on there as well. He's privately educated. Just double checking that. So yeah, it's just. Yeah, once you notice, once you start noticing it, it's very hard to not notice. And the people who are who went to state school, like the vast majority of us, they do really stick out. They do really stick out when you're watching a movie and literally the entire cast, except for one person, went to a private school. You can see the future right there. I mean, it's not even the future, it's the present. If you want to be an actor, you have to be able to live in London for 2-3 years, not earning anything, being able to make it to auditions at any time of the night or day, being able to pay for transportation, being able to be put up by someone in their flat or in their house in London. So you got to have a wealthy friend. And one of the things that they've done very, very well over the course of my lifetime in particular is they have separated out the people who go to state school and the people who go to private school, so they never have to meet in real life. And you see this when Farage or Boris Johnson meets someone who isn't posh, and they have these weird conversations that are like conversations that no normal human would have with another human, because it's like that. There's the mixture of arrogance, obviously, for them being, rich, pompous twat, but also, this kind of pity, the way they talk about people who are seen as the lower orders, and the deference that people who didn't go to private school have for the people who did. It's quite sickening, really, when you think of some of the biggest sort of British, children's authors like David Walliams, complete wrong, went to private school. Roald Dahl, massive anti-Semite, went to private school, and also the fantasies. Well, the Worst Witch or Harry Potter, the Harry Potter series. It's about someone discovering they've got magical abilities and going to a posh private school that because they're magic. You see, they're magic, so they get to go to the magic school. They don't go to the comp. The people who go to the comp are called Muggles, and it's people like the Dursley kid who are just like useless and stupid. But the people who go to the wizard school, they're very clever and very smart, and they know what they're doing. Even if they're evil, they might be evil, but they know what they're doing. Yes, Larson, imagine the city of London if all the office jobs go to AI. Apart from all the lost jobs, we'll have ghost skyscrapers. No one except the security guards work. Turn them into housing. Turn them into housing. That is just the way to deal with this situation. If people want to live in those houses, I mean, I wouldn't live in an apartment block for love nor money. But that's just me. That's my own take on it. But yeah. Like that time Sunak asked a homeless man if he was in business. Yes, Gallifrey meant exactly that. Weird, stilted conversation that doesn't flow. There's no give and take because they're just not used to talking to people of the lower orders as they see them. Liz Truss went to a comp and look where she ended up, says Opal. Yeah, okay, fair enough. The one statey that we've had in the last 16 years, she only lasted for 44 fucking days. So yeah, embarrassing, but maybe again she was put in that position because she was a posh person's idea of what a working class person is. She's not working class, obviously. Her parents are university lecturers. She's very, very middle class. But yeah, even grammar schools have that problem. Yeah, I mean, grammar schools could be made to work, but I think that they have to change the way that the selection criteria is. I think that for any grammar school, the selection criteria has to go out across the entire city or the entire town in which they are situated, even if that means kids coming in from miles away. Do it, because then the working class areas get covered as well. One of the things that grammar schools do, and also comps as well, they do this. A comp in a good area is going to take in better kids because their catchment area is going to be a very middle class area. And then you've got this thing where more middle class people move into that area and you risk ghettoization of areas where they're seen as working class. They're seen places where there's more social housing, perhaps. And then you'll have schools where you are getting that apartheid system where you're separating children at a young age to say, no, you're this type of person, you're that type of person. We do this with religion as well, which pisses me. I'm just going to say a quick one about this because, this annoys me. Imagine you went to a school, right, to get your kid in the good school, and it's only a short walk from your house, right? And they say, what footy team do you support? and you say, well, I support Everton. So, oh, sorry, it's only kids who support Liverpool who can go to this school, and you have to have attended a minimum of 17 Liverpool matches to prove that you're a real Liverpool fan. So your kid has to go to 17 Liverpool matches. And so you say, okay, well, what I'll do is, even though I support Everton, I'll take me kid to the fussy every week for 17 weeks, right? And therefore, get them into the good school. That's what people do. They take their kids to church to get them into the school, even though they might be atheists, even though they might be Catholics, they might be Buddhists, they might be Hindus. They'll take their kid to the church to get the kid into the good school. Like, how ridiculous is that? And how ridiculous would it be for me to put up a sign outside a C of E school that says no dogs, no Catholics, no Jews, no Hindus, no Muslims, no Buddhists, no Zoroastrians, no Jains, no followers of the rainbow serpent? How horrific would that be? We want no Jewish children at this school. They can go to the Jewish children's school. We want no Catholics. They can go to the Catholic school. We still segregate children on this basis. And I know that it's not overall, it's not entire, these schools will take in kids from other religious backgrounds. I know that, but the kids who are born into that particular group are given preferential treatment. And then have a think about a single mum who's raising 3 children on her own. Does she have time to go to church? She might actually be a Catholic, but she doesn't have time to go to church each week because she's got too many things to do, too many mouths to feed. She can't get to church and back with 3 children. She doesn't have a car that they'll have to take public transport. That's got to be 10 quid there and 10 quid back on the bus to go to church to, get a toe over the line. Now, I know several people, not even just a couple. I know several people who have gone to church to get their kid into that school, that school that they wanted. That's got to stop. That has absolutely 100% got to stop. Because it gave the example of which football team you support and not letting your kid into a school in case you prove that you really support that team, which is ridiculous. But also, imagine that in a job, right? Imagine you advertising a job, and we'll put aside advertising for the job of being a priest or being a rabbi or being an imam or whatever. I mean, that's obviously, you've got to be part of that religion to do that job. But imagine going for an office job, and it's it's Protestants preferred. Yeah, PP on the thing, it says Protestants preferred, and they can actually take you with your CV. And you've got exactly the same qualifications as a candidate who is a Protestant, practicing Protestant, goes to church each week, and they give the job to the Protestants, and they can actually legally say to you, no, it's okay, we discriminate against people who aren't Protestants. Wouldn't that be mad? That's what we do at our schools. Take a step back, have a look what we do with our schools. They may as well put a sign on the front lawn saying no dogs, no Jews, no Catholics. What's the difference? I remember years ago, I was at out one night at the Heebie-Jeebies, and I was chatting with a lad who was the same age as me, and he grew up on the same street as me, and I was like, how do we not know each other? And he went, oh, what school did you go to? And I went, oh, I went to Blue Coast, and he went, oh no, primary school. So I went to Blackmore Park, and he went, oh, I went to St. Paul's because that was the Catholic school, and then he went to Cardinal Eden, and I went to Blue Coat. Now, Blue Coat, to be fair, at the time, it was supposed to be C of E, but it didn't discriminate if you weren't. So we had lots of Jewish students, we had Hindu students, we had Sikh students there. So that it was, at least I got to meet people from other walks of life. But if you'd gone to one of these schools where it's just 100% one particular religion, people don't mix. And I think that is the worst thing that humans do. Because from that, all the horrors that humans have perpetrated on each other happen, okay? The worst thing humans can do is to build a little fence around themselves and say, this is our tribe. And I don't want my children mixing with children of another tribe, whether that's children who are working class, whether that's children who are Catholic or Jewish, whether that's children who are born from atheists. I think most babies are atheists. Obviously it's a taught thing, but it's the worst thing we can do, because if you do not have any friends who are black, it's a lot easier to be racist. I'm not saying it will automatically happen, but it's a lot easier. If you've got no friends who are gay, it's easier to be homophobic. If you've got no friends who are trans, it's easier to be transphobic. If you've got no friends from certain countries around that, it's very easy to be xenophobic against people from that particular place. To say, oh, all French people are rude. And I'm like sitting there going, some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life have been French. What are you talking about? What are you? All of them, yeah, they're all dead rude. They're all dead rude. All German people are just dead strict. And, some of the most wonderful, like, let's say fair bohemian people I've ever met have been German. No, they're all very, they like shouting. But like, this is again, just to go back to the working class example, who benefits from this image, from this invented character of Robert Kenyon, this political mascot, this television stereotype of a working class person from the 1970s, the voice of the ordinary people? Who benefits from this image? Well, many of the people who are promoting this image are not working class themselves. Reform's leadership is filled to the brim, tipping over of wealthy figures. Suella Braverman went to private school. Robert Kenyon went to private school. In fact, of the 9 MPs they have, 8 of them went to private school. The only one who didn't is Neanderthal, which is Leanderthal. Sorry. Which is very emblematic of what they think of the working class. And they have them down at the pub eating chips or something. It's just, oh God. And you think of the donors of RefUK, they're all privately educated billionaires. Not even just the MPs are millionaires. The donors are billionaires, former financiers. You got these professional politicians, media personalities, constantly telling working class people what they supposedly think, what they supposedly feel, what they supposedly care about. Could you be more patronizing? Could you? Could you be more condescending? And whatever your view of Andy Burnham and whether you agree with him on anything, on everything or not, he does understand how broad the working class Britain is. He understands the important things to the majority of working class people are public services, local government, regional inequality. He understands transport, housing, regeneration, economic development. He can explain policy, for Christ's sake. He can debate policy. He can scrutinise legislation. He's been in government. He's been mayor of London, mayor of Manchester for the last 9 years. It's what MPs are supposed to do. He's had experience of it. And I'm not saying that everyone who goes into Parliament needs to be a career politician, needs to have all this experience. But in this case, when this by-election, without trying to make it sound more grandiose than it really is, this by-election could set the tone of the country's fortunes for years, decades, maybe centuries to come, depending on how much of a vote RefUK get in this election. And then if Andy Burnham doesn't win, then Starmer's going to stay on, isn't he? I'm grateful my schools were cosmopolitan and diverse. Yeah. Chris says, I'm sorry, but we should not have schools that are linked to particular faiths. Religion should not be a precursor to gain access to education in the 21st century. Yeah. I know people who are atheists who took their kid to church for a year to get them into the good school. A lot of people, actually. Like, the more I think about it, the more I think about people who've actually had to do that. And they did it to get their kid into the good school. I think if I had to go to church regularly to get into the good school in my area, I'll take my chances at a not so good school and see what happens. Well, thank God my school didn't care if I was a religious household. But I've always wondered why schools say we only accept children if you're Christian. Sounds very tribalistic. Yeah, and you couldn't do it in any other job. But they can do this with teachers, you know. It's the only profession that I know of, apart from being an imam or a priest or a rabbi, as I've said. But I think it's the only profession, being a school teacher, where they can legally discriminate against you if you aren't religious, if you're going to teach at a religious school. Again, the same CV, 2 people, you can legally give the job to someone who might actually not even be as well qualified, but if they are the denomination or the religion of that school. And I feel like, I went to the Glee Club in Birmingham. A comedian thought it would be funny to make a joke about Muslims. The silence he got from the 99% white audience shocked him. Never underestimate Brummies. Yeah, Jenny, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Elle says, why do people do evil things, hate money, and they'll get the thrill? Because they are quite rightly lonely and bored. Yeah. I posted something yesterday about going to... so Durham Pride went ahead yesterday. Hurrah! Thanks to the backing of the unions, even though RefUK didn't want it to go ahead. So that was really fun. It was a beautiful day, so it was just a fantastic day for having it. Mary Foy, my MP, spoke. So I'm going to be writing to her later today saying, I saw you speak at Pride, and it was all very nice, but you've got a month now to do something about this disgraceful guidance from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission. So I'll hopefully get a response from her on that before the month is up. She's already written back to me a few times about trans. I would say trans rights, but they're not even trans rights anymore. They're just trans existence, let's say. So yeah, that was fun. But there was a big thing made at Pride yesterday about the link between the unions, especially the National Mine Workers Union, in the 1980s and the LGBT community. And they actually had the treasurer of the LGBT group that joined in with the miners' protests back in 1985. If you ever see the movie Pride, this guy's like played by an actor, like he's a big part of the film, and he was on stage and he was talking about how, because of the LGBT groups coming together and supporting the miners' strike, it meant that at the Labour Party conference that year, for the first time, rights for LGBT people got passed at conference as forming part of Labour's agenda for when Labour got back into office. Now, Labour wouldn't get it back into office for another 12 years. But during that time, a lot of the trade unions actually brought in protections for LGBT plus people in the run-up to the Equalities Act of 2000, which actually enshrined in law the fact that you couldn't discriminate against people for being LGBT plus. Obviously, we can talk about the fact that that's been dialed back in recent years, unfortunately, especially for the T in the LGBT grouping. But I think that's very telling that working class rights and trade unions and working people's rights have historically, for the past 40 odd years, been tied in with rights for people from the LGBT plus community. And I think that's really, really important to point out, that's working class people. Thank you very much. That the unions are made up of majority working class people, especially the mine workers and steel workers and things like that. And they were actively supporting trans rights for many years and gay rights for many years. And it really boils my piss that they seem to be going back on that. I am hoping that if Andy Burnham becomes the new leader of Labour and therefore the new Prime Minister, he takes Labour in a very different direction. But before that happens, we have got this ridiculous guidance, this unworkable discriminatory guidance that has come from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, a commission that's supposed to be impartial, a commission that's supposed to be non-political, and yet its previous leader and its current leader have both been political. You have Baroness Kirshner now in the House of Lords moaning about abortions. Yeah, tell me that's not political. Why was she ever made chair of the Equalities and Human Rights Commission? Res Lloyd, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. That's very kind of you. Are you going to do an all-nighter on election night, Graham? I think Andy Burnham will smash it in this election, so important and defining for the future. Res Lloyd, is the Pope a Catholic? Does a bear shit in the woods? Does the Pope shit in the woods? Is a bear a calf? Of course I'm gonna do. Of course I'm gonna do an all-nighter. It's gonna be excellent. It's gonna be awesome. And friends, for those of you who were watching during the live stream, I mentioned about June the 20th. So I've double booked for June the 20th. I've been asked to go down to London for the Rejoin March. Obviously, it's going to be the 20th anniversary of Brexit. So, yeah, let's go. But also, Aid Thompson is going to be in Liverpool, drinking it up, like the trooper he is. So he's going to be meeting some of his patrons in Liverpool. So this morning, I've booked my ticket to London, which was really expensive, from Durham, and then I've booked another ticket from Durham, from London. Sorry, not all with it still. From London to Liverpool, which is only 18 quid. Which is about right, isn't it? And I'll be arriving in Liverpool at 7 p.m. So if you are in London on the 20th, June the 20th, please come join me at the march and say hello. Look out for the hat. And if you are in Liverpool or near Liverpool, Manchester, Macclesfield, Makerfield, the other fields, Wigan, Preston, Runcorn, I'm sorry, Warrington, I'm even sorrier. Please come over. If you're a plastic scouser or you're a bad wall, I don't care. Get your arse over to Liverpool on the 20th of June next month, and we will have ourselves a bit of a knees up. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. It's very kind of you. In the 60s, I went to a religious primary school, made me a lifelong atheist. It was the only school in our village. Was the Durham Pride event funded by the miners this year because the RefUK council refused to fund it? Not entirely, no. What the council gave towards Pride was never that big. Pride in Durham's been going for 13 years or something. But this year, because RefUK were like, we want nothing to do with this, we actually ended up having twice as many people come to Pride as the year before, which is amazing. It's the Streisand effect, of like, oh, we don't like this thing. So more people said, if the fear of transition, if people feel like something's going to be taken away from them, they react very differently. It's why I feel like when we argued for staying in the EU, instead of going on about economics and 4% decreases and GDP and all that shit, right? Instead of going on about that, what we should have been going on about is the rights that were going to be taken from us. The rights that were going to be taken from us to go and live and work in other countries around Europe. And that would have been much more effective, because people don't like things taken away from them. People don't like things taken away from them. So you point out that Farage is going to take this away from you. He's not going to take it away from himself, though. He'll be nice and rich still, and he'll be able to live and work in all these countries. You won't be able to. Your kids won't be able to. Your grandkids won't be able to. Will they ever forgive you? Possibly not. Possibly that's one of the reasons they moved to Australia. I don't know. But yeah, back to Robert Kenyon for a moment. His comments are not the real story here. I don't think. I think the real story is RefUK's response. Every controversy when it comes to RefUKers, like Leanderthal saying something fucking stupid, or this gobshite in Makerfield saying horrible things about women, about Carol Vorderman, about people online. Every controversy gets excused as authenticity. Every comment becomes proof that he's a normal bloke. And every criticism becomes evidence of elite snobbery. But working class people deserve better than that. Because being working class doesn't mean you're sexist, doesn't mean you objectify women, doesn't mean you're ignorant, doesn't mean you're intolerant, doesn't mean you lack standards, doesn't mean you don't know anything about anything. Sorry, I'm going to cover Trump up. One of the problems with having the TV behind me is that occasionally Trump appears on it. What's he saying? The number one attraction in the world. All right, yeah. Bigger than Elvis, apparently. It sounds rather like trans people have been there for every civil rights push in recent memory. It makes echoing silence for many now. We're under attack hurt even more. Yeah, Gallifreyan, man, I don't want to have to agree with you on this because I don't want it to be true, but it is true. You're right. It is remarkable how many people who said they were going to be there, after all the stuff that trans people pushed for, all the changes that were pushed for, and to have someone like Wes Streeting, who is part of the LGBT community, being like transphobe number one in his policies, and the fact that he's had meetings with Sex Matters and all these other gobshites is it's just really grim. It's just really, really grim. No, the White House is just gold because the boss has no taste. Yeah. So yeah, RefUK's defense of Robert Kenyon reveals something profoundly insulting, not necessarily about him, but about them. It reveals what they think of when they think about ordinary people. And I think that ordinary people deserve more respect than that. And this in my head is going back to the way things were when the RefUK fuckers started all this with Brexit. They claimed that they were speaking on behalf of the working class, which is the same trick that the Tories did when the Tories started poking holes in the red wall. They claimed to be talking for the working class. And what was the narrative all the time? Working class people hate migrants. Working class people are racist. Working class people are sexist. And I hate that portrayal of it. So yeah, of the working class. A trans woman created the technology that led to us having smartphones. Yeah. A gay man led to created the technology that led to us having computers and smartphones, which was Alan Turing, and you saw the way society treated him. I'm often minded to think about the movie High Noon, which was made in like 1950 at the height of the McCarthy witch hunts. This moral panic about communists in Hollywood, and the story is about a sheriff who he knows that some bad people are turning up at 12 o'clock on the 12 o'clock train, and they intend to kill him. And all the people he's helped around the town, he says, "Hey, remember that time I helped you? Do you mind helping me out with this so I don't get shot dead?" And they all turn away and say, "We're not helping you out." And it's as true then as when it was talking about the McCarthy witch hunts as it is true today with the trans community. They'd rather we don't talk about it. They say, "Oh, you go on about trans people too much, Graham." And I'm thinking, well, someone has to. Hey. I suppose Marmal does go well with your shiny golden loo, or maybe he was inspired by the Vatican. Yeah. Jenny Robinson. Oh yeah, that was the comment there. I didn't know that you learn something new every day. So Sheffield Steve. Yeah. Also, there's a trans woman who did the music for Doctor Who, wasn't it? And the sound effects. Indeed. He was a new governor to the prison. The prison officers hated him, as he wanted to relax the regime. He had all in the sports hall and basically told them to put up or shut up. Fair enough. Breaking news from Spherelands: Vatican City deny allegations that the Pope shit in the wood. Yeah, well, they would say that, wouldn't they? Bastards. Anyway, High Noon is a superb movie, says Harry Flashman. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And Plants McGee says, "Thank you for being an ally." No worries. I mean, like I say, so somebody's bloody got to do it, eh? And thank you for the people who watch the show and watch this channel. I mean, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Like, literally, I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you very much. And on the note of the super chat, obviously the super chat totalometer is working again. Thanks a bunch, YouTube. But it is working again, so it gives me a good excuse to say sod it, even though we've only had 2 or 5 of the next push for confetti. We will do it now. We will do it now. 3, 2, 1, confetti! Woo! Department of Homeland Security in America is run by John Wayne Mullins, a former plumber. What is it with former plumbers? Is he any relation to Charlie Mullins? Or is that spelled differently? That makes some sense then, but the guards seem to have the bigger problem than the governor. He always shows how evil governors are in films anyway. Sarah says, I know a trans woman who 3 days before having a gender reassignment surgery donated blood to help even transphobes and became ill and close to needing blood herself. That person was me. Bloody hell. I'm sorry to hear that, Sarah, but I'm glad that you were able to give blood. Because that is giving to anyone, and these racists, right? When they get into a point where they need blood, when they need support from somebody else, are any of them going to say, "Oh, sorry, does that blood come from a black person? Does that blood come from a trans person? Does that blood come from a Muslim? Oh no, I'm not. I don't want it then." Are they? Fuck. They're going to be like, give me the blood. I want to stay alive. The problem isn't so much with the actual officers, but the Prison Officers Association. They would rather every prisoner is locked up for 23.5 hours a day. Yeah, I can see that. For anyone who hasn't heard of it, I recommend the Magnus Archives and the Magnus Protocol. British Lovecraftian horror comedy, and the crew are firm allies. Oh, that's good. I'll have to have a look at that. The trans woman you're thinking of is Angela Morley, who did the music for The Goon Show and Hancock's Half Hour. I can't think of any trans composers associated with Doctor Who. I thought it was a trans woman who did the special effects, the sound for Doctor Who, like created the who created the sound for the TARDIS. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up with something else. Okay. Doctor. Okay, maybe it wasn't that. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Music. No. Okay. Okay. No, sorry, I'm getting something mixed up then. Where's there someone? I'm sure someone worked. I'm sure a trans woman worked doing the sound effects for the BBC or something. In the radio, what was it called? The radio, the BBC Radiophonic Workshop. Although maybe I'm getting it wrong. It's all right. It's all right. I'll do my. I was wrong. I was wrong, and I accept responsibility. Delia Derbyshire is honorary trans. We can claim it. Yeah, indeed. Now I'm sure there was someone who was like at the cutting edge of sound effects and things like that at the BBC. I might be getting them mixed up with somebody else. Sorry. My friend's black and she's a medic, and at A&E, when people are racist, she suddenly becomes the only available medic to treat them. That reminds me of a story in which, during, which I'll leave you on because I've got to get going in a minute. But back in the war, in World War II, in the run-up to D-Day, there were a lot of American GIs stationed in the UK. And obviously there weren't enough barrack spaces for GIs and other troops that had come from all over the Commonwealth and from the Allied countries. And there was a call put out to have soldiers come and stay with people in their homes. And there was a lady, apparently, I don't know where this happened, but there was a lady who said, I've got room for, I'm a widow, I live on my own. I have room for three people who to come stay at my place. But I don't want any black. I don't want any black people staying at my place, and no blacks, no Jews, I think she said. And one day there was a knock on her door, and it was 3 black GIs at her door, and she said, "Oh, I think there's been some mistake." And to which the reply was, "Captain Cohen doesn't make mistakes." So yeah, Delia Derbyshire was a key member of the radiophonic workshop, but she wasn't trans. Wendy Carlos, I think it was Wendy Carlos that I was thinking of. Was it Wendy Carlos who invented the Moog? I just had this idea in my head that it had something to do with like creating weird sounding tunes. Wendy Carlos. Was it Wendy Carlos? Yes, Wendy Carlos. That's her. She's still with us. She's 86 years old. 86 years old. That's remarkable. She composed the score to A Clockwork Orange and The Shining. That's what I was getting mixed up with. Sorry, everyone. I was getting me Shining mixed up with me TARDISes. I was getting me Clockwork Orange mixed up with me sonic screwdrivers. It was Wendy Carlos. Fantastic. Synth composer, the amazing synth soundtrack to A Clockwork Orange and The Shining and Tron. So there you go. It's the Mandela effect, Graham. I looked it up and saw no trans staff at Doctor Who actors or whatever. I think it's the person who played Rose Noble is a trans actor. I think no, I was getting it mixed up with Wendy Carlos. I did the music for other stuff. a big synth pioneer. Something before I go as well, just to mention, one of the other mad things that's happened this week, and we'll talk about this tonight on the Sunday Social, if you would care to come along to that. I might be doing it on my own. Our mate Mike has got no internet at the moment, so it might be a Sunday night antisocial. We'll have to see. But it was the enhanced games. The enhanced games, right? And this took place in Las Vegas because, of course, it did. And they were going to beat all these world records, and it was paid for by pharmaceutical companies that make these steroids. And the idea was that it was like the Olympics, except everyone was on drugs. And there was only one world record that was actually broken, and that was by a swimmer who not only was on steroids, but was also wearing a non-regulation swimsuit, particular swimsuit that gives them more ability to glide through the water, and he only got the world record by 1/600th of a second or something crazy like that. So it was all a bit of a damp squib, but I'm sure it'll sell a lot of money. I'm sure it'll sell a lot of pharmaceuticals to the people who are trying to sell it. But one of the things I thought was interesting was one of the reasons why we don't like athletes doing, having injections and things like that to roid themselves up is because of the effect that it can have on fertility for men and for women. And isn't it interesting that when these people who lie about the fact that they're really concerned about the health of trans people, like, what if trans people change their mind? What if they don't want to be trans anymore? What if they want to detransition? What if it's just a phase? What if it's just a thing that they're going through and then they change? And one of the things they often say is if you give hormones to young people, obviously we know that puberty blockers don't affect fertility at all. They're not non-harmful. They're used by cisgender children all the time who grow up and into adults who eventually have children of their own. It's no problem. It just delays puberty. That's all it does. But when you start taking hormones, HRT and things like that, that can lead to being sterile. It can lead to not being able to have kids. Right, first of all, what the fuck's that got to do with anybody else? But secondly, it's funny how they complain about that when they say, we've got to protect trans people. What about these athletes? What about these athletes who are being encouraged, young athletes who are now being encouraged to take steroids that could do exactly the same thing that they claim that they're worried about happens with trans people? It doesn't happen with all trans people, of course, not at all. But, some trans people can still have kids and it's perfectly fine, I found that very interesting. The hypocrisy. God. If hypocrisy was like water, we'll be underwater right now, wouldn't we? We're swimming to work. Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much. The £5 super chat. There was a great episode of Hancock's Half Hour called The Blood Donor, which has a wiki article about it, well worth reading. I love The Blood Donor. But, is that the one where he says, how much do we give? A pint? He says, that's an armful. Tony Hancock, the only man named after 4 different parts of the human body. That's a shooting stars joke from Vic Reeves. That's a Vic Reeves joke. Actually, I think it's a Vic Reeves joke. It might be a Bob Mortimer joke, one of the two. But I will steal it off them, and I will run with that. So thanks very much, Miss Paula Thomas. I will grant you confession to go round. Thanks very much. It was Wendy Carlos, says Ernie Burns. Come on, we can't have that much of a delay, can we, on this?
I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get going now. So thanks so much for watching. I'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight with the Sunday Night Social, where we'll be getting into all the shit that's been going on this week. And yeah, it's pretty humid today. Humour me and my humidity. I'm going to have to have some breakfast. I haven't had any breakfast yet. It's bloody 20 to 1 in the afternoon. Not had any breakfast. Oh, get a bit lightheaded. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. You are brilliant. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for being so lovely in the chat and hanging out with each other and having a laugh, having a buzz. Hopefully, the first episode of Come Right With Me. Now, Graham Hughes Rights Some Wrongs. We'll start on Tuesday this week, I think. We'll see how things go. Oh, actually, no. I lie. Because our man Phil is away this week. He's in London this week. Therefore, we won't be doing the agenda tomorrow. So I'll tell you what. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, meet me back here. And we will be doing an episode of essentially writing the next book in the series after Man of the World. And you can take part in the writing process with me. It might be shit. It might not work. It might be boring as fuck because half of it I'm just sitting there quietly writing. But you'll be able to see the words come up on the screen as I'm writing it. I'm hoping to make it as inclusive as possible. And I think it'll be quite interesting. I don't know if anyone's done this before, like tried to write a book, live streaming the writing process, but it might be an interesting insight into writing. And I'll be making it very clear that you get your first draft done. That's what you got to get. You've got to get your clay. That's your clay. And then once you get your first draft done, you can start shaping that into things. So I think a lot of stuff tomorrow we'll be putting together the structure and pulling out the stuff I've already written, because I've already planned out each chapter and what happens in each chapter and stuff like that. I did that years ago. I think I did that about 10 years ago. So yeah, I'll be drawing on that and fleshing it out. And hopefully by the end of the sesh tomorrow, I'll have finished the whole of the first chapter. I hope. Fingers crossed. We will see. Can I come on tomorrow for the trans agenda, says Jenny? Well, no, I won't do the agenda then, but we definitely do need to do more shows on here. We need to do more episodes of the intersection. So if anyone's up for having a chat with me about that, please get in touch and let me know in the chat that you're up for talking about your experiences, perhaps as a trans person or as a trans ally, and we'll do an episode of the intersection. I would really like to get into this guidance from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, which is for many of the people watching this, it's sick. It really is sick. So we need to get into that. Anyway. She didn't any. Graham had a Mandela effect, who was on the sound effects, but Wendy made the moog and Graham thought the music and sound effects, lol. Yes. I was just thinking about synthesizers. I was thinking synthesizers, 1970s, trans woman, changed the landscape of sound. And if it hadn't been for Wendy, you wouldn't have had the sound of the 80s. I mean, the sound of the 80s was 90% synthesizers, wasn't it? Anyway, so thank you. Yes, do the trans agenda. Yeah, I'll put that together. Let's do that at some point. Hopefully soon. So maybe next week, maybe on Thursday next week, we'll schedule that in. So we'll work that out while we're doing some of the other shows. We've got plenty of time to do that. So, like I said, trying to wrap up here like 17 times. Thanks for watching. See you at 8 o'clock tonight, if not tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, bright and early for Morning Brew. And until then, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for sticking with this channel and me, despite everything. And I really, really appreciate it. And until I see you again, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.